We are out of executive session now and back into open session, and there is no further action that we need to take as a result of executive session. So at this point, I will adjourn the committee of the whole. The next committee meeting is a meeting of the Economic and Community Development Committee, and that committee will be chaired by Chairman Lucas. Chairman Lucas.
The meeting of Economic and Community Development to order. The committee members are Lucas, Schlesinger, Bivens, Shepherd, and Watkins. We'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
All right. We've
I'll
got
second.
five members of the committee.
I'll second.
It's motion.
I said second, but I was muted. So.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Commissioner Bivens. It's been moved and
But I
seconded.
heard Commissioner Shepherd. I think he seconded.
Well, okay. All right.
Yes.
All right. Good. All right. To approve the minutes. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. That sounds better. All right, item number 2 is appointment to authorities, boards, and committees. And the first item is a resolution appointing Gregory C. Glover to the Arbor Conservation Board. And this recommendation came from the community, and it's sponsored by Mayor Robert Rickard, who makes these appointments. Let's entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
The motion is second to approve. Is Mr. Glover on? Is Mr. Glover?
Mr.
Oh,
Glover,
yeah.
your microphone is muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes, Mr. Glover.
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning. Good having you with us this morning.
Thank you very much.
All right, we have a motion and second to approve your appointment to the Arbor Conservation Board. And we understand that you do have an extensive background in with the Cooperative Extension Service in Twiggs County?
This is weird. Twiggs with the Burke Twiggs and Hancock counties during my career prior to retiring. Yes.
Okay. And in speaking with Mr. Glover, he was the most excited nominee that I've heard of and that I've spoken to in a long time. He was just gushing, just really happy to serve on the Arbor Conservation Board. Ms. Glover, you have any additional comments you want to make about possible service?
Well, yes, I'm looking forward to serving on the committee. I'm humble, mentally humble, and Macon is a beautiful city. And I think with really putting together that connection between the Arbor Society in terms of basic tree preservation, it enhances our community. There are many recreational opportunities that we can enhance and take part in. And just as far as even from a tourist standpoint, Macon is a beautiful city, and I think we can really nail that relationship between really protecting the urban environment as well as our natural environment involving trees. I think we really can put together a really enhance the beauty of Macon. So I'm looking forward to working in any capacity that I can, whatever I can do, I'm a servant. So
okay, that's great. Any further discussion on this motion? Nothing? All right, if not, and there has been a background check, Dr. Moffitt. Dr. Moffitt.
That is correct, Chairman Lucas.
Okay, and yes, Commissioner Bivens.
I don't know if I dozed off or something. Did we do a motion and a second for the approval?
Yes, we did, but there was some static in there, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you didn't doze off.
All right.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion to approve Mr. Glover for appointment to this Arbor Conservation Board, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, Mr. Glover, welcome. We will have we will make this recommendation to the full commission on next week. And after that, with an affirmative vote, then you will be serving on that Arbor Conservation Board. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Looking forward to getting to work.
All right. All right. Item number 3 is the naming of engineering building. And this is a resolution to name the engineering building as the Robert E. Fountain Engineering Building. This is sponsored by Commissioner Joe Allen. Commissioner Allen, you want to speak to this?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. When I first came on the board of the commission back in 1989, the first thing they ever did, they put me on engineering and public works. And I worked with Bob Fountain for the number of years I was there. He worked with the city, he worked with the county, he worked with the state trying to bring things to this county. I was asked by his family if before I left office, if I would mind bring it to this board due to the fact that this board has worked with him also, both boards. And I told him I would do that. It would be an honor to bring it before y'all. And that's what I'm doing.
I'll move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
And a second by Commissioner Shepherd to approve.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was muted, but yes, second.
Okay, been motioned and seconded several times. All right, any further discussion on this? Does anybody have a problem with this at all? All right, if not, all in favor, Commissioner Watkins.
Now, I remember him when I was young. He's a good guy.
Yeah, I remember him. Yeah, very fondly. All right, all in favor of the motion to approve the renaming of this building as the Robert E. Fountain building, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so it's unanimous. We will recommend to the full commission approval. I think that ends our agenda. Is there anything else to come before the committee? If not, then we are adjourned. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Chairman Lucas. The next committee is Facilities and Engineering, and that'll be chaired by Chairman Jones. Chairman Jones?
Yes, sir. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Facilities and Engineering hereby call to order. I think we have Vice Chair Valerie Wynn, Commissioners Joe Allen, Larry Schlesinger, and Burt Bivens. Everybody's here. So number one item is the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So move.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The minutes are approved. Number two item is streetlight request, a resolution approving a request for the installation of 6 streetlights. It's on the screen in Lake Arrowhead subdivision pursuant to Article 10 of Chapter 29 of the Code to be paid from the facilities management budget. Service to government electricity line item sponsored by Mayor Robert Rickard.
So moved. I'll make a motion, we approve it.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any comments? Mayor, you want
Ms.
No, I understand that the installation costs have been absorbed by the process, and we'll be responsible for the ongoing electricity costs. But I'll defer to Michael or somebody with legal to confirm. Michael?
That's correct, Mayor. The estimated monthly cost for these 6 road lights would be $68.64 a month for a total annual cost of $823.68 a month.
Mr. Chair,
And that would be, one second, that would be the normal process whereby they've absorbed the installation costs and we pick up the electricity costs.
Right, we just pay all the electricity for streetlights in Macon-Bibb, and so this
Right.
would just go on that bill.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Lucas.
Yes, sir. The people who live in Lake Arrowhead have been requesting additional lights for a long, long time. Many of you who are familiar with it know that there are a lot of hills, a lot of curves, and there's a lake that if you're not careful, come down one of those hills, and you don't know where the lake is, you might. Anyway, the folks in that area are very, very pleased, and the neighborhood association has been asking for additional lighting for a long time. And I know that they will be very, very pleased that at least some of them, there are more that are needed, but they will be pleased to get these in. And this is also endorsed by the Pedestrian Safety Review Board.
Right. Yeah, lights provide safety and security for our neighborhood, so they're always welcome. Commissioner Allen?
Yeah, basically, we'd like to go back to Mr. Lucas. Back down there on Club Drive where it goes around where the lake is, they put us up a lane to make sure that those cars wouldn't go in the lake.
Is there what?
The signs, there was, the curvature
Yeah,
signs.
yeah,
Get them
yeah.
put up.
Yeah, there are some up, yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. In that same curve, Commissioner Lucas, is there a guardrail there? I'm trying to envision.
I don't believe there's a guardrail, but Commissioner Allen is referring to signs, yellow signs that kind of have an arrow on them, a series of them that warn people that is on that curve that the lake is right over the hill there.
Right.
Right. All right, any further discussion on the streetlights for Lake Arrowhead?
Can I just, Mr. Chairman, I just make
Yes.
a small comment? This is not any negative. This is good stuff that we're putting streetlights up, but this is one of these things that could fall in the realm of public safety too, with road signs and things like that. So it could have been a public safety. And in the future, if someone wants to come to me with requests for lights, it may go either way.
Could be. And I'm on both committees, and even if I wasn't, it wouldn't bother me regardless. So you're
Same
right.
here. Same here.
It could be on either committee. You're correct. Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Mivens.
I was thinking what you said about the guardrail. I mean, I've been in that area. I'm not absolutely certain, but it might not hurt to have engineering take a look at it and make a recommendation.
The reason I mentioned the guardrail was I know we requested one on Foster Road, which is coming up, and talking to the county engineer, he said the last time they had a hard time, an awful time getting somebody here to come and repair and replace about 40 of them. I think it was a company out of Savannah. And they build up this list, and sometimes they have to wait 2 years, which seems like an inordinate amount of time. So he's checking into that. So if that's desired there, then maybe we can add that to the list, and maybe that'll get somebody here sooner. Whereby they can
look at it and decide, make a decision.
Okay. All right.
That's good.
If there's no further discussion, then all in favor of the street lights for Lake Arrowhead subdivision, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Number 3 item. Okay, we've got a B part of that. A resolution approving a request for the installation of one street light at 400 Riverdale Road pursuant to Article 10 of Chapter 29 of the Code to be paid from the Facilities Management Budget. Services to Government Electricity line item. So I'm assuming the same has happened there, in that the installation costs have been absorbed by the neighborhood, and now the one street light would be installed, and the government would cover the electricity costs.
Move to approve.
Yeah, that's my understanding, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Michael?
Yes, sir. The cost on this one is $25 a month or $300 a year is the ongoing cost.
Move to approve.
Second.
That's Assistant County Attorney Michael McNeil for those watching in, if you don't know him. Thanks for all you do. So we've got a motion and a second. No further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Michael, talk to you.
Those opposed? No opposed, so the motion carries for 400 Riverdale Road. Number 3, eminent domain, a resolution to approve the exercise of eminent domain to acquire in fee simple the property commonly known as 209 Pursley Street, sponsored by Mayor Rickert. I think this has to do with what we had passed before. Is that correct, Mayor?
It is, and this is actually the first of 4 companion resolutions to condemn this blighted and abandoned property. My impression is they haven't been able to find an owner for any of the 4 parcels. They hadn't been able to get in touch with anybody. And like I say, these are all empty and blighted structures. There was one person that was, I think, illegally squatting in one, but has since moved on. So they're all 4 vacant. They're all 4 dilapidated. And when you can't find the owner, you have to go through the process of condemnation. So I believe that attorneys can confirm this for me. And they're all needed for this streetscape project on Pursley Street from Walnut into Linwood Cemetery entrance.
That's correct, Mr. Chair. There are 4 properties that are needed for the streetscape project. We have tried to contact the owners. The title's hopelessly clouded. But you've had one, for example, the last recorded deed was in 1946, and none of the owners have. We've not been able to get in touch with them. We've posted signs. We've sent letters to last known address, and these have to be cleared up through eminent domain, not only to take the property, but also to clear up the title. But just by way of information, there are 3 other properties on Pursley Street that we have been able to contact the owners and negotiate a purchase of those properties. These 4 require this resolution to proceed with condemnation, and we will pay into the registry of the court after a hearing the just and adequate compensation, fair market value of the properties, so that if we ever do locate whoever legally owns it, they can get to the registry of court and draw down those funds.
Can we take these 4 as a group?
Well, you took the words right out of my mouth, Commissioner Schlesinger. I appreciate that. I'm going to suggest.
I have no objection to that. They're for the same project.
They're the same project and the scenario is the same. So it includes 201 Pursley Street, 183 Pursley Street, 195 Pursley Street, and the first one, 209 Pursley Street. So with no objection, we'll vote on all of those at one time.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Commissioner
Does
Bivens.
anybody know of these in the neighborhood of Matty Hubbard Park?
Are they close to the Matty Hubbard Park?
Yeah, they're adjacent to it.
No, sir, they're not. These are all on that section of Pursley Street on the far side of Walnut. So they go from Walnut Street Extension into the entrance to Linwood Cemetery, but nothing on the other side of Walnut Street along Pursley Street up by Matty Hubbard Jones playground. There are some negotiations that are ongoing and acquisition of properties around Matty Hubbard Jones, but this is not a condemnation there.
Okay, I was wondering that because when we all put the projects in for the SPLOST money, and the part of improving Matty Hubbard was to take down some houses right there, and sounds like there's some problem with getting that done. Of course, you know, that was part of what I put money in from the SPLOST, you know, the $1 million we all had authority to use.
Yeah.
Right.
Matty Hubbard's been lingering for a long time. Worked on a lot of stuff.
My impression is, Commissioner Vivens, that Cass Hatcher has tried to put together a little summary sheet of how much each commissioner has remaining in their little splost account. And, you know, you go at 25,000 here and 35,000 there, et cetera, or $200,000 here, there. And he wants to combine all of that, I think, with your approval and move forward with the improvements to Matty Hubbard Jones. I think that was what he told me.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to talk to him, but when we were putting money out there for projects, the one project that I did for Matty Hubbard, and this was I thought maybe about a third of the million, was to do the Matty Hubbard Jones Park.
And I think they did do a significant amount of improvement out there. But then as a second phase, they acquired some of the properties, the blighted properties and vacant properties that faced Pursley Street. But now we still need to go back and do something with playground equipment and one or two other things I wish Cass were on the line and could tell us about, but we'll get him.
I'll talk to him. I've talked to him about a week ago. I'll call him back.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Wheaton.
may I ask Duke this question? You said the money, if we hold the money in an account, if the person ever comes forward, they can claim that account, they can draw down on the account. What account is that? Who holds that account and how long does that money stay in there?
The Superior Court, we have a hearing before, even if they don't show up, we've got to have a hearing to establish just what's called just and adequate compensation. It's not going, these properties are obviously not highly valued in terms of money, but we have an appraiser testify. Whatever his testimony is, the court can accept that, enter an order, and then the money we will pay, that is the county will pay, into the registry of the court, Superior Court. So they'll hold the money at Superior Court. And then if somebody does come forward, we direct them to Superior Court to draw the money down.
How long is that money held?
It's a period of years. I don't know off the top of my head, but it's a pretty long time.
Yeah.
And I can get you a more specific answer, but what happens if nobody claims it? I think there is a general trust fund for the state that goes into, and it's just unclaimed. We don't get it back.
Oh, we don't get it back.
No.
Well, we spend money going through the process, though. I wish we
Sure.
could
Yeah.
back for our county, you know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okey doke. Thank you. Any further questions or comments? And I think we voted on that. So yeah, we're on number 4, right? A quitclaim deed, a resolution to authorize the mayor to execute a quitclaim deed for the sale of property to the Corporation of Mercer University totaling 0.02 acres located at 1720 Dannenberg Avenue for its appraised value of $800, sponsored by Mayor Rickert.
Mr. Chairman, I'll turn this over to Michael. My impression is that when we did that series of deeds for the recreational fields that Mercer wants to put in that area, this was one little teeny weeny parcel that actually fronted on Dannenberg Avenue, which is the same thing as Oglethorpe Street. Oglethorpe Street changes name at some point right along in there and becomes Dannenberg as it passes under the interstate. And this was just overlooked, as I understand it, and they want to include it now. Michael?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, that's correct. So this is the Linden Avenue, Chestnut Street area. And so here's the Macon Dog Park where my mouse is, and the commission will recall. So we've closed Chestnut Street, this leg of Chestnut Street here, and we've closed Chestnut Street Lane back here. And a couple months ago, the commission approved selling these 4 parcels right here that have the drainage ditch running through. And there was also a parcel that the commission previously approved, one of these down in here, selling to Mercer. Now they've also identified this little teeny 0.02 acres right here that we have title to. And so it's the tax assessor went out there, did an appraisal on it, came up with $800 as an appraisal price. And that's what we're looking to sell. Just, you know, they're looking to turn this whole area into athletic fields. So that's the little parcel we're talking about right next to I-75 there.
Right, and Mr. Chairman, I think if Michael can highlight the right of way that's
Yeah, there's an unopened alleyway or platted area right here. There's a right of way alongside, or a buffer alongside 75. I'm sorry, it just zoomed out on me. But then there's this unopened right of way here that's I think Mayor is talking about.
Is that it, Mayor?
I think Mayor's frozen. I'm sorry.
Anything you want to add to that, Mayor? Still frozen?
Commissioner Jones, they're working on his computer right now. So if you'll just give him a minute, he'll be right back.
All righty, we will give him a minute or two.
am I back? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Right. Well, I hope Michael, it may have explained, because I think everybody thought that little parcel, it may have been a connection between the unopened right of way and Oglethorpe Street.
Oh, okay.
It may have been, maybe they thought, but it ended up being a separate parcel that now they've come back and to try to tie it up. This is the additional 200ths of an acre that they're asking for. And remember too, now that this portion of the Dannenberg Lane or whatever it is only the distal portion behind the little AGL facility and the owner's driveway into the back part of their house. So everybody's happy with this little 200ths of an acre down the street.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anybody else? And
Approve.
we've got a
Second.
motion to approve by, and a second by Wynn. Motion by Allen. Those in
Yeah.
favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion carries. Last item, number 5, is a new speed limit for Foster Road. An ordinance amending a portion of section 28-19 of the code to set the maximum speed limit for Foster Road from Tucker Road to Zebulon Road at 35 miles per hour. It's currently 45. I sponsored this. I had numerous emails from schools, churches, medical facilities. You've got all of those in that area. First Presbyterian.
Right there, look at the clipping. This is exactly what I'm talking about with the, oh, I'm sorry.
We've got a medical facility and we've got a church. Everybody has been concerned about speed on this strip for a long, long time. And I had contacted Nigel Floyd about it, but I think it fell between the cracks. But he agrees it needs to be there. And so that's what it calls for, a reduction in speed from 45 to 35 on this strip where you have a medical facility, a church, and a school.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion, questions, comments?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. Michael, please.
Hey, yeah, I just want to clarify too, there's an existing school zone for First Presbyterian Day School within 600 feet north and south of Calvin Drive. It's a 25-mile-an-hour zone right there. This does not affect that at all. That's going to stay in place. It's just the rest of the road will go down to 35.
Leading into the school zone area where
Right.
people are traveling, so that the
Right.
25 would still remain as it is for the school zone.
Comment.
Yes, sir.
We tried to do this on Etna Place, and you can't do it without a hearing, is what I was told. And if you're gonna do it because it's a school zone, then it has to come down to 30 miles per hour. Every school zone now is 30, I believe. Has Nigel looked at that to be sure? Because it just needs to be consistent. Because what we were trying to do, we were trying to do something on Etna Place, and and relationship hadn't been the same with those folks over there ever since I was trying to I think maybe increase by 5 miles per hour to get it up to 35. And so from 45, you're asking 35. Is that what it was at 45 and you're asking 35?
It would reduce it from 45 to 35 in the areas other than the dedicated
Yeah,
schools.
yeah. I asked Nigel this a couple of years ago, and he put up a fight himself, saying that cause and wanted. It's just amazed that he's agreed to do this so fast and easy, because he gave me such a hard time in trying to do it on Etna Place. And I mean, I'm just gonna go back and use this, if this is approved, but I'm just basing on everything that he told me. When it's a school zone that it had to be 30, I think it changed to 30. I think years ago it used to be 25, but it may have came down to 25. But I travel Foster Road every single day. And I mean, we need to repair it right there where you're coming into that school, going around that curve. Matter of fact, Dr. Moffitt that told me a while back to turn paperwork in to the attorney's office because I tore up my tire. And there are some issues on Foster. And I think we need to fix right when you're coming around that curve where the school is. There's a big hole and ditch. So if you run off, and I still got all that paperwork, and I just never submitted it. And we do need to take a look at it. So I'm surprised that Nigel has approved this without even going looking at that road over there. And so he's not being consistent, because he stopped me and gave me such a fit over at Etna Place. So apparently, Commissioner, you know how to get it done without anything. So I guess I'll be referring to you next time.
Well, I don't know about your previous conversation, but this was requested many, many months ago and from many sources in the neighborhood, and nothing was ever done. And so then it came back. It may have been even as long as a year ago, but he had evaluated it, and it, I think with the advent of COVID and lots of other factors, that it just kind of fell between the cracks. So he's in agreement with it, and it does need to be done. And I think we can get Public Works on the road repair if you got some road repair there.
Yeah. I got a photo of it and some pictures. I just never submitted them. And Dr. Moffitt probably told me last year to submit them. But yeah, it's some issues over there that needs to be addressed. And Nigel, apparently, I'd be surprised if Nigel went over there and well, I'll just talk to him. I will.
Yeah.
That is just amazing that he's worked with you so easily on this and giving us such a hard time over in Etna Place.
Any further questions or comments for the reduction of the speed sign other than the school zone, which is already dedicated at 25 miles an hour? And this is one that could have been in public safety and it could have been in facilities, but I sponsored it and the neighborhood wants it from all sides. So I think it's a good thing. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? The motion carries. Okey doke.
Mr. Chairman, we do have an item. I thought that was in your committee that dealt with the vendors and entrepreneurship.
It's coming up.
Oh, okay. I thought you were done.
It's coming up. No, it's coming up right now. In fact, number 6, sale of goods on county right-of-way, an ordinance to temporarily allow for the expanded use of county rights-of-way for the sale of goods, sponsored by Mayor Pro Tem Al Tillman. So I'll recognize you and tell us about it, please.
There were a couple of other sponsors, but I think the county clerk left early one day, I think last week, and others could not sponsor the bill. Why are you laughing, Mr. Mayor? That's what the attorney told me. Said she left early Thursday at 12 o'clock. Is that not true, Madam Clerk?
That seemed kind. Point of order.
Let's talk about your.
I'm just saying that. I mean, the other that was.
Would like to
really
be a
get into the-
co-sponsor though, but I
the
wouldn't go. You know how I am
COVID-19,
about coming to
due to COVID-19, the right away, what we're trying to do is allow vendors and entrepreneurs during COVID an opportunity to be able to sell goods and survive during COVID. There's so many businesses and restaurants that's hurting, and even those that are selling items on our rights of ways without our permission, particularly at on Eisenhower, Pinona, Hillcrest, Munford, Napier, and Munford, Napier, and Hillcrest, West Napier, Munford. And I think this will give them an opportunity to be able to use our right-of-ways at a minimal fee through this COVID-19 pandemic through the end of the year is what we're asking for. And we have some models that we've used that already allow for this. Out of state would be Winston, Salem, North Carolina, Savannah, Atlanta, just to name a few. And this will probably help so many folks that just see that they just can't either find a job and that the pandemic is just costing them so much money and a living. So we want to be able to try to see if we can help our entrepreneurs in maintaining this. Now, I did call Jim over at Planning and Zoning, Mr. Jim Thomas, who's the director at P&Z, just trying to get him to reduce fees as well for them, the commission members over there, just to look at their fees when we're talking about special events or special event licensing, doing seasonal opportunities. They would not be a part of this and need to regulate any services because it's we're not talking about private properties. We're talking about our right of way. P&Z only would regulate private property issuances. Now, Macon-Bibb folks have to get our permission, and we would normally charge them $100. What I'm asking is during this COVID-19 that we reduce those fees down to $25. We want to take it a step further in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, that we know that some folks can't have so many folks inside their restaurants, and so some municipalities have allowed them to use street right-of-ways on the street areas. Because our sidewalks are so large, I'm not sure, Michael, if we took it out, but I think I wanted to leave it in as an option for road closures for restaurants that may ask for special permitting as an option and not as a resolution that we have it in the bill. So that's it in a nutshell. And everybody should have received this, probably except for Commissioner Shepard. For whatever reason, I did not have your email, but every commissioner should have received this already and gotten and shared some input. And so that's in a nutshell. And I'll allow Michael if he wants to add something. I think I've said it right and got most of it right. And I did ask us just to reduce our fees from $100 to $25. I think that's the only other thing. I may have changed a couple of things, and I think that was one of the major ones that I wanted to see us reduce those fees from $100 to $25.
Yeah, Michael, I'm gonna recognize you first, then Commissioner Wynn, and tell us anything else we need to know as far as that legislation, please.
Sure. Let me just walk through it briefly. Mayor Pro Tem, it summed it up, very, very well. But just to put it in kind of legal terms, there's 4 operative sections to this ordinance, and they each do slightly different things. So our code right now, we already have in Division 7 or Chapter 7 of our code, we have a Division 15 that of Article 2 that allows people to work as sidewalk food vendors. We talked about that a little bit earlier this morning in the tax commissioner's presentation. But basically allows people to set up like a food cart, like a hot dog cart or something like that in the downtown area only, and there's a permitting process to do that. There's also a division 15.5 that allows people to set up, I'm sorry, division 15 is for sidewalk cafes, and that's in the downtown area. Certain restaurants can set up tables on the sidewalk. That's in our code already. 15.5 is the sidewalk food vendors permits. So this recognizes that there are people in our community that already hold these permits, and to the extent that they hold these permits, we're not going to have somebody, you know, come in and kick them out of their spot on the sidewalk or anything like that. Their rights under their permanent permits are going to be superior to these temporary permits. But subject to that, we've got section 2, which provides for temporary sidewalk dining. Now, the current code as it is right now is only in the downtown area. This expands temporary sidewalk dining to countywide and allows for people to, any business operating as a restaurant may place dining tables on the sidewalk in county right of way under the following conditions. They can't close any public street. They can't impede auto traffic. They can't, they have to have zoning approval to the extent that it applies. They can't reduce the usable portion of sidewalk to less than 5 feet in width. They, you know, and many of these are the same restrictions that are currently applied in downtown as to the sidewalk cafes, just making sure that the sidewalks remain usable, that you know, it's not any more intrusive than it needs to be to get the to accomplish the goal of being able to sit outside and eat. Tables and chairs have to be suitable for outdoor use. And then the permitting process, they have to have insurance, they have to file an application with Department of Business Development Services. It's a $25 permit fee, just as Mayor Pro Tem said, and this is a permit that would expire on January 1st. And so it's just a temporary aid for people that that could benefit from this. The sheriff, the mayor, and the fire chief all have authority under this ordinance to immediately and summarily revoke any temporary sidewalk permit if there's some sort of violation that constitutes a threat to public safety, constitutes a nuisance to the citizen or to those in the vicinity of the restaurant, somehow creates a danger, then these permits can be revoked immediately. Section 3 sets out the same kind of countywide expansion for the temporary sidewalk sales. And it also expands from food items to also the sale of goods. And so they can sell either in like a booth that is some sort of table or stand that's no more than 30 square feet, and or a portable push cart. And they apply to business development services. It's the same process as they do right now downtown for food cart permits. They have to have insurance, all the same, permit fee for $25. They have to have a photograph of the booth or the push cart setup that they're going to use. They have to show on a map exactly where they're going to be conducting business. And to the extent that zoning might apply, they have to follow zoning rules. And again, this is just through January 1st. They have to provide a garbage can, at least 30-gallon garbage can, and they have to be responsible for any garbage that they generate. They are allowed one freestanding A-frame style sign that they can put next to their booth, but otherwise they're not affixing anything to the sidewalk or fixing anything to anything that's on the sidewalk already. No dining tables, no seating. It's just the cart. You buy what you're going to buy and you walk away, kind of thing. Let's see. They can't be within 25 feet of any location that's previously approved for sidewalk food vendors. So if there are going to be multiple on the same street, they have to be at least 25 feet apart. And they can't sell something within 50 feet of the entrance to a store that already sells that same thing. So if you're going to operate a hot dog cart, you can't set up right outside of the New Way and sell hot dogs and compete with New Way. You've got to be at least 50 feet away. Let's see. And again, most of this comes from our current requirements for these in the downtown area. It just expands it to countywide. And again, it gives the sheriff, the mayor, and the fire chief all authority to revoke permits if they're causing some sort of safety hazard or health hazard or something like that. And then section 4 provides for the temporary commercial use of roadways. This is, as Mayor Pro Tem said, it's an optional right to request the closure of roadways only for those businesses located on Poplar Street or Cherry Street in downtown. And there's two approaches that this ordinance offers. The first is just to close the parking lane along one side of one block of the street. And so, for example, if you have a business that's on the south side of Poplar Street between First Street and Second Street, you need to get a majority support of the businesses that are on that side of the block with you to apply together, and you can close the parking lane for basically a special event and put out tables in that parking lane. The other thing is if you can get all the businesses on one block together, for example, on both sides of Poplar between First and Second, then we'll close the whole block, the parking lanes and the traffic lanes. But it requires a majority support of the business locations, either on that same side of the street where the closure would be or on the whole block where the closure would be. That's done through our Parks and Beautification Department, who handles the street closure permits. And they review the request along with Newtown, Macon, and with the Urban Development Authority, who have done some similar things in the past. These closures on Monday through Friday, the closures can't start any earlier than 6 p.m. So they're not impeding like daytime business traffic. It's noon. They can start as early as noon if it's a Saturday or Sunday, and then they can end as late as 10 p.m. on basically school nights or work nights, and as late as 10 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, and as late as midnight on Friday or Saturday night. And so they have to say in the closure permit application, you know, what times are we looking at closing the roads as well. And they have to get insurance. It's a $25 fee per block per day for the closures, which is normally, I think, $250 a day for a partial closure or $500 a day for a total closure. So that's a substantial reduction as well. And they can't permanently affix anything to the sidewalks or the roadways, and they have to clean up after themselves once they're done. And they have an hour after the closure time ends to clean up after themselves. And again, the sheriff, the mayor, and the fire chief all have authority to revoke the permits if there's some sort of threat to public safety or some sort of disturbance being created out of that operation. So those are the four substantive sections of this ordinance.
And just a follow-up, in section 4, I don't see anybody using that one possibly before New Year's Eve. That could change if they try to do something during the December Christmas holiday season. That's not a biggie. That's why we list that one as an option for street closures. That's it.
Commissioner Wynn, you had some questions or?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. While I understand the whole purpose behind this, because Mayor Pro Tem and I did speak about it, I'm a little bit confused about what we're trying to do here. I understand the sidewalk cafe or extending eating from our restaurants downtown onto the sidewalks. I think places like Parish and maybe the Rookery already have seating outside, which I'm assuming they pay the city for that extra seating area. But besides downtown, let me just talk about the eating establishments first. I don't think places like Taste and See and My Pie have outside seating right now. So in other words, what this is saying is they too could expand their outside seating to the public sidewalk with the understanding that you couldn't take up, I think I saw somewhere it said not 10 feet beyond the outside of the building, and you must leave 5 feet of space for the sidewalks to be usable. Beyond downtown, And then you also talk about the food carts and things like the hot dog cart, and it can't be within a place that sells hot dogs. I sure miss Spud Dogs being open, one of my favorite hot dog places downtown. But where else? And also, we talked about the vegetable fruit market over there on Hillcrest and Napier, which I think is a great spot. It's on private property, so where are we talking about these food vendors being? Just help me out just a little bit. These carts, and besides food vendors, are they going to do T-shirt vendors with carts? And are the businesses downtown, like any retail places downtown, are they going to be able to put tables out front and sell like a flea market type thing or sidewalk sale? I'm a little bit about all the stuff that's been thrown out here. I'm fully in favor of, expanding the eating outside those restaurants downtown. But once you get from downtown, where are you talking about food carts being? What sidewalks and what area?
I mean, all of Macon's right away. Whatever Macon's right away is. I mean, I gave examples of where people are already doing this without our permission. And I've named Poplar, I've named Pinon and Eisenhower. I've named Hillcrest and Napier.
But were those on private property or were they public property? I know the one on Hill.
These are our right of ways.
They're on the
Planning and zoning have, as we stated earlier, planning and we don't have anything to do with private property. Planning and zoning regulates private property.
These places you're talking about on private property, or are they on sidewalks? I know the one on Napier and Hillcrest is in that parking lot, which is private property. But where would you put these carts? What sidewalks would you use?
Whatever our right of ways are. Our right of ways are whatever our right of ways are. Our right of ways are generally 5 to 10 feet from the road. They are right of ways. And those restaurants you mentioned downtown, again, we have big sidewalks. And so that's not been an issue. What we're trying to do is expand this to everybody that's an entrepreneur or vendor, to give them permission, because they're already doing this anyway without our permission. They're doing it after 5 p.m. And a lot of them that I personally stopped and talked to and encouraged them to go down to planning and zoning, and that office has been able to work with. So we're giving people permission during this COVID-19 temporary basis to be able to continue to apply and sell goods and items, pop-up grills and so forth. So that's the whole purpose of this.
A T-shirt vendor on Montpelier and Pinona. Let's say it that.
I don't know. I haven't seen one.
I'm just saying something here. If you have,
I mean, whatever people doing to make a living is what they do to make a living as an entrepreneur. I mean, if they gonna sell T-shirts or
and so
whatever,
they would need to go down to P&Z and get approval and pay the fee and get the insurance and all that stuff.
I mean, we try to explain to you. I keep telling you that P&Z has nothing to do with this. You keep saying P&Z.
You mentioned
this is our right of way, Macon-Bibb's right of way, our property we own. Private property is what P&Z regulates. This had nothing to do with P&Z at this time.
I understand, but didn't you say that the people that set up have to have a license and get insurance and things if they're on public property?
I'll yield to Michael if you want to keep explaining it.
It's a permitting process, just like we use right now for sidewalk cafes or downtown, or for food carts downtown.
I'm talking about these carts that want to set up and sell hot dogs, say out on Hillcrest Avenue sidewalk. Who do they go?
The question would be if you want to put a cart on the sidewalk or a cart on the, what do you have to do to do that?
Yeah, that's a public property thing. So what do you have?
Okay,
so they'll know what they have to do if this passes. So they'll know what they have to do.
Let me pull that back up.
They have to get a permission from Macon-Bibb County. We would issue a letter, or our normal fee is $100, and we're reducing it to $25.
Right.
There's nothing that we're proposing that doesn't already exist, except for giving people permission to reducing the fee and just giving more folks permission to use the right of ways. Encouraging them to do it legally is all we're really requiring them to do.
In our reading now, do you have to have insurance for these things when they pop up on a public sidewalk? Was that
For,
part?
in our current code, for the ones downtown, yes, there is an insurance requirement.
Someone set up
Yeah.
on, I'm just using Hillcrest as an example because there's sidewalks there. If they set up a pop-up there, would they have to get not only the $25 permit, but they'd have to get insurance, proof of insurance too?
Right, the insurance requirement. So this is the application requirements here, paragraph C. We need the name and address of who's applying. We need to make sure they have a current business license. They have to describe what they're going to sell. If they're selling food, they need to show us a valid copy of their health permit, their food service permit. They need a hold harmless and indemnity for us in case there's any kind of slip and fall or anything that happens where they are. Certificate of insurance for $100,000 of liability insurance. A description or photo of the push cart or booth that they're going to set up. A $25 permit fee. A map showing exactly where they're going to be set up. And that's what will go into the application. And then the rest is just the regulations that I went through about it. Expires on January 1st. They can't affix signs to things, but they can set up a little A-frame sign. They have to provide trash, just things like that.
So I have read those, but thank you for reading those again. But that's a lot of requirements for someone that might just want to set up temporarily, or who's following up to check and see if these pop-up vendors are doing that. There you go again with a follow-up. Who's going to enforce this kind of thing? I'm not against it. I'm just saying there's a lot of requirements that they're going to.
Your committee would follow up as public safety, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Well, public safety and the sheriff and your committee would be the ones that follow up.
And what do
you? From a public safety standpoint, is correct.
My committee would follow up. My committee of 5 would go out to all these vendors and see if they've got all those requirements met. Is that what you're saying?
I ride around, and as I ride around, I stop and do business and talk to the folks. So, maybe sometime we all need to get out and go and talk to the people. So that's what I do. That's what made me want to do this for them, because I stop by and I do business with them and encourage them to go and do it legally in the correct way.
Well, you do it in your area, and I look in my area, and don't see the things.
It's all over Macon-Bibb. It's being done.
Not all over Macon-Bibb. I don't have to do that all the time. And
okay, well, getting back, I've got a question or two, Michael, regarding and I've looked at it, I've glanced at it, looked at it again on the screen, and so let's say somebody wants to set up a business with a cart. Is it required to be on a sidewalk? In other words, right of way is 10 feet off the street, and you could be in an area that's not a safe area. So does it say in there somewhere? And I'm not looking at it right now. Does it say that it has to be on a sidewalk?
Let me pull that back up for you there.
Okay. In other words, you could be on the side of the road somewhere that is not in a safe area for somebody to set up a cart where traffic would be too close.
Right. So what it says is any person wishing to sell food items or goods within the rights of way in Macon-Bibb County are hereby authorized under the following conditions. So it's not so specific as to limit it to sidewalks, but I think in practice it's generally going to be sidewalks because of the restrictions that I mentioned, as far as you can't impede traffic. If you go too far off the sidewalk on the side opposite the street, you're going onto private property. So it's, it depends on how the sidewalks are laid out in front of, whatever area you're looking at, that, how much room do you have to set up? It may be that you could set up a booth or a cart in the grass just off of the sidewalk, but still be on county right of way. There are some roads that we've got 100-foot right of ways from center line. And there are some roads where the right of way is basically right up to the edge of the street. And so it just depends on kind of place to place where it is that you're looking at.
Just to give another example, some of these convenience stores, right on the edge, some of these convenience stores give permission, and that's considered private property. That some folks can get permission and do get permission from private business owners as well. And right. So it's sort of private business.
I don't have a problem with that. And I understand that private property, they can let them be there if they want to. It's the public property thing that I'm concerned about. I just see a cart on Northside Drive on a sidewalk and that being a distraction or getting in the way or something like that. I mean, those sidewalks aren't that wide, and I just worry about it.
Yeah, it seems to me, Commissioner Tillman, regarding, it seems like it needs to be on a sidewalk. I'd be concerned, maybe you can consider that as a friendly amendment to it, that it require that it be on sidewalk if we're talking about public property.
I have no issue with that, sir. Just trying to help the folks through COVID-19 so everybody can survive and these folks won't feel the need to go out and commit crimes.
I appreciate that and respect that, and I like your sincere intent. I want it to be in a safe place. Where
And
someone,
public safety, Chairman, I want it to be in a safe place too. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. So that would be my only concern, that it would be on a sidewalk rather than still in the right of way. You could be in an unsafe place in between residences or on a commercial road, regardless of whether it's Forest Hill or Northside or Riverside or whatever. It seems like it needs to be not just in the grass, but on a sidewalk whereby there is a safe place for them to set up and people to go by, if in fact there are sidewalks there. What do you think, Michael?
If the sponsors will or the committee's will is to make that amendment, I'll have it prepared for next week.
That'll be fine with me, sir.
Okay.
That's why I shared it with everyone to give them input. And we've got another week to get further input and for others to go ahead and sign on, because I know there were others that were interested. That'll be fine.
Okay.
Give everybody more time to look at it if you need to, and add to it as well.
Right.
And just take in consideration, however we can help the citizens deal with COVID-19, let's just try to help them and give them an opportunity to make a living doing this terrible process.
I agree. These are unusual times. And
Mr. Chair, may I ask a question?
yes,
please?
ma'am.
I wanted to ask about the health permits for those who would have carts or would be selling different things on the street. How is that different from, the downtown requirements of, say, restaurants and stuff that would be out there?
No, ma'am. Anyone in the state of Georgia that's selling prepared food has to have a food service permit issued by the local health department. So it doesn't matter if you're coming out of a kitchen or just a cart with a steam table in it.
Okay, the only thing I'm supportive of this, to give people, an option to make money and survive during this trying time. But I just want to make sure that the health requirements are met, everybody meets them. And I don't know what the check on that is. If somebody has a permit and then they go set up a hot dog stand or grilled chicken or whatever it is. I'm kind of fuzzy on the health aspect of it. I think there may be a little bit of danger in that, because you don't want folks just out there saying I can set up and I can sell whatever, because everybody's not maintaining the same standards. And so that's my concern. But if that is taken care of in the legislation, then I'm okay with it. But I do think we need to think a little deeper about that and making sure that people understand that they have to maintain certain health requirements while they're setting up and making money to survive the pandemic.
And what the ordinance provides right now is that at the time they submit the application, they have to give us something from the health department, a copy of their inspection letter saying that they're approved there and they have the food service permit. So they would have to do that inspection and everything before they even come to get the permit from us.
Okay,
You know, to the extent that there's somebody out there right now just selling hot dogs without any kind of permit or license, then there may not be that oversight. But this is one way to help get oversight too, is to make a permitting process.
yeah, well, the health department is limited in how many they can, really do a good job, an effective job of checking and all of that. So let's just watch this one and see what happens with it.
So Michael, as a follow-up to that health concern, which is a public safety concern again, do they have to display their health department certificate like you do in restaurants? I mean, food vendors, but they have to have those requirements fulfilled before we can, it should be a safety thing, as Commissioner Lucas just said.
My understanding is everybody that has a food service permit is required to display their most recent inspection. And so that would be something that they would have gotten an inspection before they're allowed to open up shop. And they'd have to display that inspection score just like any other restaurant.
So let me just ask this question because it was thrown at me. If I'm a public safety chairman and I go out there and see a food vendor and I stop to buy something and I don't see that health certificate displayed, am I supposed to say something?
You're not enforcement.
Exactly. So who do you?
Right.
You better not go out there messing with folks.
Well, this is what Commissioner, Tim wants us to go look for things like that. No, that's not place to do that.
I wouldn't if I were you.
No, but
not my place to do that.
You certainly have the right to point out to them that they may want to contact the health department about getting a permit, or you have the right to contact the environmental health division at the health department and let them know that there's someone operating without a permit. But I wouldn't take any steps as far as as Commissioner Lucas said. Don't actually enforce them. Don't try to.
Of course not. I'm
them or
not saying, would I say something to them and then I can call, but I'm not going to do any enforcement. That's not my job.
Right.
Ladies
Michael,
and gentlemen, we're trying to take a proactive, Mr. Chairman, John, we're trying to take a proactive approach. There are a lot of folks out here doing stuff without Macon-Bibb permission or consent.
Right.
What we want to be able to show folks is that we support you during COVID-19, and we want you to do things correctly for those that may not be doing it correctly. That's the whole intent. And then not to charge them an excessive fee, but just to encourage them to do right. And we can continue to work with our health department. Matter of fact, I'll call the health department because I don't know if they're charging a fee, but we need to look for minimum fees and so forth to try to help folks get through this. And this is temporary through the end of the year, and to give folks an opportunity to try to show that we in Macon-Bibb want them to survive during COVID and help them in any way we can. Because there's not enough CARES Act money because I know some of y'all phones ring like mine. It's not going to be able to help everybody, especially don't have a brick and mortar place. So this is just another way, and I encourage y'all to continue to come up with ways of how we can help them. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I think most, if not all of us, like the intent, and we're just trying to make sure it's safe and regulated in that they would, meet the proper standards. So it sounds like I assume the health department does some sort of periodical check. Michael, you may or may not know regarding restaurants. So this would be included in their purview now, whereby they would, if they knew where little stands or carts were there and knew they were authorized, they would stop occasionally and check and make sure they had their permit displayed and make sure they're running a safe, healthy operation, right?
I believe, Mr. Chair, that the standard is that they're inspected before they open, and then they're inspected at roughly every 3 to 6 months after that. But the governor's COVID orders have had for some time provisions in there for like restaurants that got A's on I think it was either the last inspection or last couple of inspections. There was a period to extend the time between inspections for those establishments. So it may be, since you're only talking about a 3-month, permitting period anyway, it may be that if they get that first inspection and they get an A on it, they might not be inspected again before the end of December.
Sure. Okay. All right.
Let's
So
move on, Mr. Chair.
yes, sir. We're going to move on. That's a great idea, Commissioner Shepard. Michael's going to amend it whereby it includes the safe setup on sidewalks, and Commissioner Tillman's okay with that. So
yeah.
And please add me as a co-sponsor after listening to it. I'm completely convinced that it's safe and pretty solid idea. I think we fully vetted it at this point.
okay. No noted. All right. Item number 7, improvement to Georgia Central Railroad grade crossing.
Did
we
you
vote on the
vote
amendment?
on that?
Well, I thought you were going to tweak it.
We don't have a motion, second, or vote.
Oh, wow.
So
All right, so are we going to vote? I thought Commissioner Tillman was saying that we would look at it some more and vote on it at a later time. Is that what you wanted to do? You want to vote on it now with an amendment?
I would ask that the committee vote on it now. I really want a hot dog after all that. Top Raymond food truck or something. It'd be nice.
There's a good place called New Ways you can go to.
What you want to do, Commissioner Tillman?
No, I accept the friendly amendment. We can add the amendment. We can vote on the legislation and then you can add the amendment.
I'll move to approve.
I second that with the amendment.
just to clarify, it would be, and this is a little out of order, but I think we do it because it's a committee. It's a motion to approve as the suggested amendment.
Okay.
Okay.
We vote for the amendment or for the resolution? What are we doing?
It's for the amended version. You can do it all in one motion in the committee. You can do the amendment unless there's an objection to that. Just do it that way.
Right.
So we're approving we're voting on the amended version, which we don't have, but that's going to be put in writing by attorney. Right?
Subject to, you can do subject to the amendment.
Right, and the amendment is to say that the booths or carts have to be set up on the sidewalk only, not on all public right of way. That's the only change that I have in my notes.
Okay. So that's the motion as amended. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you.
Number 7, improvement to Georgia Central Railroad grade crossing, a resolution authorizing the Macon Water Authority to spend up to $100,000 from the landfill closure / levee maintenance fund for the purpose of improving the Georgia Central Railroad grade crossing on Lower Poplar Street so as to provide heavy equipment access for the repair and maintenance of the levee, sponsored by Mayor Rickard. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'm actually going to see if I can call on Michael momentarily, but there is a section of levee between the Georgia Central Railroad and the Norfolk Southern Railroad that is very difficult for heavy equipment to access in case they need to get in there and repair or this, that, or the other. The access that they have been using is over this Georgia Central line, and to tell you where it is, if you go down Lower Poplar Street to Cox Cafe and turn left at Cox Cafe, you would bump over this railroad crossing. But the problem with using it is that the heavy equipment trucks bottom out as they go over this grade crossing. So in order to get heavy equipment in to maintain or repair the levee, you got to go over this crossing. So the Water Authority has agreed that this is an appropriate use for that fund that they are paying in over a period of 20 years to the total tune of about $7 million, it seems to me, over the 20 years that they're paying in, but it's restricted for landfill closure and or levee maintenance. And this is levee maintenance in their eyes, and I think it's a good thing for us to do. Michael?
Mr. Mayor, I don't know if I have anything to add after that. That pretty much covers it.
Well, a picture's worth 1,000 words. You could tell that grade crossing really is not conducive to getting heavy equipment across it without damaging either the equipment or bottoming out or ruining the railroad. So they've worked with the Georgia Central Railroad folks to make these improvements so that we can use that to get heavy equipment to maintain the levee.
Move to approve.
I second it.
Got a motion and a second. So Mayor, my only question is this landfill levee closure maintenance fund was set up and is contributed only by the Macon Water Authority?
That is correct, sir. That is correct. And the fund is maintained at the Water Authority.
Okay.
So we don't even maintain the fund here.
I can speak to that, Mr. Chair.
Oh, good. Okay.
Please do.
So this was an intergovernmental agreement that was entered into in March of 2011 between City of Macon and the Macon Water Authority. And basically what it comes down to is there were some bonds that the Water Authority took out back in the 70s that the City of Macon paid on. And so as a way to pay back the money that the City of Macon spent on these Water Authority bonds decades ago, they set up this IGA back 9 years ago in 2011, where annually they pay, let's see, or they pay, it's a total of $304,000, just under $305,000 a year for 25 years. And so the net total is going to be about $7.625 million over the life of this program. And it was from the intergovernmental agreement says July 1 of 2010, but it was entered into in March of 2011. So I imagine the first payment was probably in July of 2011. And so over, through about 2035 or 2036, they're paying just under $305,000 a year into this fund. And it's just a segregated fund that the Water Authority holds the money in. It's their money, they hold it in this fund, but per this agreement, they can only use it, as Mayor said, on either the landfill or the levee. Those are the only two permissible purposes, and only on matters where both the government, Macon-Bibb County government, and the Water Authority agree mutually that it's an appropriate expenditure. So this resolution says that this body agrees that it's an appropriate expenditure. Mr. Rojas with the Water Authority has represented that he feels it's an appropriate expenditure on their side, and that he's not going to have any problem getting his board to agree with that. And so basically, if the two boards agree, then there's $100,000 available to approve this grade crossing and give access to heavy equipment to fix the levee if there's repairs needed down the road.
Okay, so it's totally their funds. I guess it comes from collections from the customers throughout Macon-Bibb County, Monroe County, wherever they may service water.
I don't know where they get the money from.
Macon-Bibb.
It's to pay us back for expenses we paid for them decades ago.
Okay. All righty, well, it started way back in 2011, so that's before this board was formed. So I was just curious as to its nature, so I appreciate that. Okay, though, I think we had a motion and a second, did we not?
You did.
Did.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. The motion carries. That concludes facilities and engineering. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Chairman Jones. Next committee, Operations and Finance, and that'll be Chairman Watkins. Chairman Watkins.
Here, you're gonna check with Paula and your mom, make sure they got it. Because if we don't have it, yeah, we need to know. Just step it up.
Schlesinger is vice chair, so until Commissioner Watkins gets back online, Vice Chairman Schlesinger, are you there?
I am here.
Would you take over and run operations and finance until your chairman gets back?
Sure, be glad to.
Great.
Okay, I'm going to call to order the meeting, the September the 8th meeting of the Operations and Finance Committee. Our first order of business is to approve the minutes from August the 25th. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
And I'll second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
I think everybody's asleep, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, I tell you, we've been at this for a while, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
we have.
Yeah, Chairman
All right.
Watkins may have gone out to get a hot dog.
Yeah.
I was muted, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right. Our first item of business is an ordinance to authorize a supplemental budget appropriation from fund balance to the Board of Elections in the amount of $259,264 in order to provide for various costs relating to the conduct of the 2020 general election. Mr. Mayor, if you have anything to tell us about that.
I am the sponsor, but only because they asked this amount. If Julie Moore or Dr. Moffitt is online, my understanding is that they have itemized a list.
They have.
They've itemized a list of things that they would like to have in order to carry out this November election and get us through the end of the year to $259,264. So that's all I know about it. I couldn't even tell you what's on the list.
That is correct. If you recall, at the end of last budget year, we did a supplemental, but they did not use those funds at that time because, long story short, the primary way they budget is per election instead of budgeting like 3 elections at a time, which was what we thought they were doing when we approved that last supplemental. So this is a supplemental for this election. And based on previous experience through the budgets, they probably will not spend all of it, but this will get them what they need to accomplish this upcoming election and possible runoffs if we have runoffs in the November election.
Okay, well, let me just remind everybody that the members of this committee are Commissioner Watkins, Commissioner Bivens, Commissioner Lucas, and Commissioner Schlesinger. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, I think I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I think I heard Commissioner Watkins there. Any opposed?
I'm back.
Okay, so this passes. All right,
Mr. Vice Chairman.
Yes,
just an update. We are going to do the 2 early voting sites at Elaine Lucas Senior Center and Farron Ussery.
Cool. All right, Commissioner Watkins, I'm going to hand the chairmanship of this whole thing back to you. Go ahead.
I'm having some connectivity issues, so you might want to just keep on going.
Okay. With your permission.
Mr. Vice Chair, can I ask the legal department if they were able to get that resolution done on support for the Board of Elections in their efforts on, and I think this money is tied to some of those things, the satellite locations. We were endorsing additional drop boxes and also
Sunday voting.
what was it? Oh, the Sunday voting. There's one additional.
Yeah.
Did y'all mind?
Commissioner Lucas, we are working on that, but we weren't able to get it down for today. We anticipate having it down for referral for Tuesday.
Oh, okay. Well, y'all have been busy.
Y'all keep us on our toes.
I understand.
And y'all do a great job.
Thank you.
All right, item B is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a work authorization with Goodwin Mills and Kaywood, Inc. in the amount of $7,700 for the purpose of hiring Taffy Pippin Consulting, Inc. as a sub-consultant for the preparation of an undated disadvantaged business enterprise plan for the Macon Downtown Airport to accept the federal funding in the amount of $6,930 and state funding in the amount of $385 towards the cost of the same, with remaining costs payable from the airport budget. Mr. Mayor, do you want to speak to this? Hello?
I'm sorry. I want to just say you got about 7,300 out of the 7,700 that's being contributed by the federal government and the state government. So our match is about $500 approximately to do this DBE study at Macon Downtown Airport. And the FBO out there is none other than Middle Georgia State University, where they're offering their students flying lessons and this, that, or the other. And there's been some indication that you got enough traffic out there now and students coming out there now that maybe a cafeteria or this or that or the other might be a good idea. Well, the FAA wants you to try to include disadvantaged business enterprises when you consider something like that. So they're willing to pay the vast majority of the cost, about 95% of the cost, to do an updated DBE study. And they recommend Taffy Pippin Consulting working with GMC, Goodwin, Mills, and Kaywood, so that everybody's kind of on the same page about improvements that might be made and maybe getting a disadvantaged business out at Macon Downtown Airport.
Okay, sounds like a pretty good deal to me.
Yeah, and I understand Blake Roy is on the phone from TBI, and he can correct anything that I said wrong. Blake, are you there?
Okay.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, I'm here. And also
anything you need to correct?
Sure. So the DBE plan is updated every 3 years for both airports. The regional airport DBE plan will be updated shortly following the downtown airport. And it also, for any federal funding we receive, the DBE plan must be in place for that federal funding.
Okay.
What's the definition of disadvantaged business for this particular item?
So a disadvantaged business enterprise is any business or enterprise that's owned by a minority or a woman-owned business, a female-owned business. We have DBE goals that are set for every federal project we do. And currently, I believe our goal is 12% around that. But that's going to be updated come FY21 for the federal fiscal year, which starts in October.
How is that goal set?
It's set by the Office of Civil Rights with the FAA. Every 5 years, they review every 3 years, they review the plan, provide us the goals that we want to shoot for, and then it's per airport though. So each airport's a little bit different. For the regional airport, the goals are higher than the downtown airport, just because it's a larger airport with more consulting and engineering needs.
So you mean the 12% is higher than some of the? That doesn't seem very high to me.
Well, it's 12% of the entire project. So if it's $1 million project, 12% of that project will be is required to be completed by DBE. Now, more of it could be completed by DBE. That's just the minimum requirement for the project.
12% is so much better than what the county does as a whole, though.
What are we doing?
I say that's so. What are we?
What are we doing?
I'd bet it's not more than 2%. I'd bet $100 against the mayor on that.
Oh, well.
Okay. I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great. Okay. Item C is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a non-federal reimbursable agreement with the Federal Aviation Administration in the amount of $241,188.24 to be paid from the Middle Georgia Regional Airport 1432 Runway Rehabilitation Project budget for the purpose of installing runway navigational aids. Again, Mr. Mayor, I'll look to you, and if you want to hand off, that would be fine too.
Right. I'll hand this off to Blake since he's there and more knowledgeable about the details than I am.
Okay, cool.
Certainly. So we have part of the runway project that we're currently doing to rehab the secondary runway at the regional airport, which is runway 1432, as well as taxiway Charlie and taxiway Delta. Part of that project involves some federal navigational aids, which are currently very outdated and need to be replaced on the runway. Those will be replaced with new state-of-the-art equipment that will be funded by the FAA. And then once they are installed, the FAA will continue to maintain those for the life of that equipment. So for each runway, it's we're replacing 2 navigational aids on each end of the runway.
Okay, any questions, anybody? I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion in a second. Any further discussion? Sounds like a good idea to me. Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Item D is an ordinance to authorize the Macon-Bibb County government to appropriate up to $50,000 from fund balance for the purpose of providing for the restoration and repainting of the Benny A. Scott Memorial Steam Engine located at the entrance of Carolyn Creighton Park, to authorize the hiring of a suitable contractor of a professional services basis. All right, Commissioner Watkins, I mean, I'm on this list too, but Commissioner Watkins, why don't you just tell us what...
And that's a good picture, what we've done. I think that picture right there, if you hold there. So currently, this is the Benny A. Scott train. I believe most of us have become familiar with the history of this artifact now. But it's right at the entrance of our Central City Park, and for longer than I cared, we've just stopped maintaining it. It's rusted out. We have a bed sheet, it looks like, trying to cover it, which is doing nothing. So the recommendation is for us to invest and spend the time to salvage this piece of equipment, so it be something pretty that we can take care of, and possibly put some type of awning over to protect it from the elements. I believe it was actually priced out some time ago at a price of about $20,000 to do right by this train. So I think this right here would account for that and more. So I just put up to, just to account for the fact that it's been maybe more than a year since that $20,000 number was sourced. But that's the goal. I think we verbally have promised the family, or at least indicated to the family, that we would make some improvements, I think almost a year ago. And, you know, to our shame, we did nothing. So I think time is now. And okay, I think pretty much current day. Yeah.
Mr. Chair.
And I think we're talking about cosmetic. We're not necessarily restoring it to working condition.
Correct.
Okay. Yes, Commissioner Wynn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is such a landmark to Macon in the entrance of Carolyn Creighton Park. I think this is, as Commissioner Watkins has said, we discussed it before and we never went through with this plan. This is one of these things, people see this when they come into the park, and I've had pictures made with it when I was younger, and it's such a sad thing to see it in the condition it's in now. So I am all for this. I was one of the co-sponsors. Of course, I can't vote because I'm not on this committee, but I'm all for this and moving forward with this, and let's do it now this time.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, in the way of further discussion, and I don't know that the commission is interested in this, but at least I wanted to mention it. This locomotive has kind of been through an iteration of several different things. We were going to give it away to the museum in Savannah, but then we had a local group that said, no, don't do that. Let us restore it to operational condition and operate it. And we gave them, a couple of years to do it. And they finally, they disassembled it and took certain parts off of it. Then they figured out that they couldn't restore it like they were talking about. They couldn't restore it to operational condition. So we terminated our agreement with them, went back to the idea of trying to give it to Savannah. Savannah was willing to take it, but then we had a second local group of folks that said they could raise the money and give us a little bit of time. So we did, and then that kind of fizzled out. They were not able to raise the money either. Since then, I have tried to look into the possibility of Transco donating the old coaling tower to Macon-Bibb County. That's located a couple of blocks down 7th Street, almost directly across from our facilities management. And they are interested in looking into that because they'd get a tax break for the value of the coaling tower. We could move the locomotive under the coaling tower and have kind of a teaching moment of what this coaling tower really was and what it did. And I think make a little tourist attraction if the commission were interested in doing that. If you're interested in leaving it where it is, then Commissioner Watkins is saying build a shelter over it. So maybe we could start on the restoration, the cosmetic restoration of it while we figure out whether or not the Transco deal is a good deal. And if it is, great, we'll move it. And if not, we'll build a shelter at that point in time over it. And the final thing I'll say is I have had a follow-up contact just in the last couple of weeks from Terry Coleman. Many of you may know Terry Coleman, and he's helping to represent, I think it's called the Sam short line that runs, between maybe, I won't even say Valdosta and
Cordell, I think.
Cordell, and he said, Terry Coleman saying that they'd love to get it and restore it to operational condition and actually use it on the Sam short line. So I just pass that along for your information. Not that I have an opinion one way or the other. But I felt like I at least needed to bring it to your attention that that's an offer from Terry Coleman and the Sam short line folks, I believe.
Yeah, I think we do. Let's go ahead. Minimum, let's start dealing with the rust and whatever that is covered. Let's start there. The coal and tower thing sounds kind of cool. Not opposed to it. I in general, yeah. I mean, I think we can get it looking a little better.
Okay, I have got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Michael.
Yes. Yeah, go ahead,
I just
Michael.
want to add, so in addition to the appropriation of money, just so everyone's on the same page, there's also a provision in this ordinance that authorizes the contract with whoever is going to do the repair. And I'm not aware that anyone's been identified at this point, but because of the unique nature of restoring an antique locomotive, this ordinance designates that as a professional service and authorizes the direct hiring within that $50,000 budget. So there would be no need for the contract, whatever contract, to come back to the commission as long as it's under that $50,000 threshold.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yes, sir.
So I've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. All right. Item E is a resolution to approve the 27th Amendment to the 2018 SPLOST project timeline and budget as presented by the SPLOST project manager.
I think we can delay that because this was trying to move the money forward for the acquisition of the Meade Road site for the C&D landfill and the dirt. So since that's been kind of delayed and postponed, I think this would be delayed and postponed as well.
Okay, any objection to delaying and postponing it?
No.
Then we shall. All right.
Vote on.
To postpone?
Nah, just move to G.
Right.
You can
Okay.
move on.
All right. Item F.
Same thing.
Okay. I think we're going to need to postpone this too, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll go on to item G. Okay. Item G is an ordinance to amend the Parks and Beautification budget by transferring $40,000 from the contract labor contractual services line item to the rentals, equipment, and vehicles line item to provide for the rental of street sweepers. Okay, we got a lot of streets to sweep. Mr. Mayor, do you want to?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Go ahead, Dr. Mom.
Yes, sir. We've had several discussions on our mowing and right of ways and street sweeping. This ordinance will move $40,000 from the contractual service, which is the prison crew line item. It's roughly, I believe, about $80,000 or $90,000 in that line item. So by moving this 40,000, we will rent some street sweepers and allocate personnel to go ahead and do a few rounds throughout the entire county.
Do you think?
Go ahead, Mark.
You go ahead, Commissioner Watkins, and then I'll get to you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, thank you again for the street sweeper program. Glad to see this. Do you think that's enough? How many street sweepers is this?
I believe it's 4, but this will give us a start to see what we're doing, because at the same time we are about to transfer this over to the water authority. So this will help us in that transition, probably hit our most critical areas as we transition this over to the water authority at the beginning of the year.
All right, and so I assume this will help with storm drain, flooding type stuff. It clears the streets. Okay.
Correct.
Great. And so 4 of them, and then we'd have them in the next less than 30 days?
I hope so. And again, it's limited to by personnel also. We have to allocate the personnel to do it.
Just
so,
have personnel already in staff? Or?
Yes, we already have personnel. We just need to change some schedules and modify some timing.
So a little earlier, Wade McCord was speaking. He mentioned that he had a temporary labor contract with some type of temp service. And that was at the tax commissioner's office. Could you look into that for this department? I've heard y'all been short due to COVID. And again, we need people to cut the grass and weed eat. We've talked about a RFP contract that we've talked about several times. I haven't seen that, but independent contractors are temporary.
We're looking, yes, sir. I'll look into it right away.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
All right.
As a follow-up, I was going to just follow up and say that we wiggled our way through the summer and have not followed up in cutting the grass. And we're talking about street sweepers. So all of a sudden, when we talk about street sweepers, Dr. Moffitt, what is it? Explain to the public what is it that the street sweeper does that will help the community more so than cutting the grass on the right of way?
Well, we're doing both.
Why is it more important than getting the grass cut?
It is not more important. We're doing both. But currently, out of the 4 street sweepers that we have, we've been they are very old, and so they stay out of service more than they're in service. So currently, out of the 4, I believe only 1 is functional. We just got that one back in the last week or so. So that's been the biggest problem with the street sweepers, that we have not been able to keep them in service.
So as a follow-up, because most folks will call us and say, we need the grass cut on this particular street. How are people contacting us, or how is it determined of which streets that we use the street sweeper for?
Yeah.
Well, we currently have a
request, so how does that work?
Well, it's currently a zone of 20, but that map was made back in the 1990s. And so I've asked the parks director to kind of do a road evaluation based on C-Clip Fix and any other communications that he's received, to go ahead and put together a list of the most 10 to 20 critical streets that need to be swept, to try to get that in the first month of having these vehicles in our possession as we rent them. So I'll be able to present a list as we move forward, but he's creating that right now. Going to your mowing, we have been revamping that schedule of mowing. Commissioner Watkins has been very, with his questions on that. We've identified how we can go in and modify that schedule using GIS. We have currently, I sent him a weekly mowing schedule so he can see that we are going around the county as a whole. So again, we are working through it. Again, COVID did affect us. It is the summer months where the grass was growing high. But we know we are going into the fall, so hopefully that'll slow down a little bit. At least the growing will slow down. We're able to cut and show a greater impact in the coming months.
Well, I just hope we can. I don't know if we just need to work on something to prioritize because you know, the movie theaters opened back up this past weekend, and I saw kids in Zelda walking in the grass. And probably Highway 80 is probably worse than even Pine Ona now. And I know Watkins has been screaming, hollering about Pine Ona. But we just appreciate all your efforts and what y'all trying to do. But now it's September and we're still talking about getting grass cut. So now people are hearing about the street sweeping. So we're gonna start getting calls on that. Thank you, sir.
And Commissioner Bivens and I sit on the Water Authority board, and the Water Authority is, conducting its assessment of the stormwater infrastructure that we've got going right now. And, there's just so much debris. That's really the problem, that debris has gotten into the pipes down there. So, street sweeping, I don't know, moving forward, whether that will be something that the Water Authority does or whether the county still does, but it's going to be so important to make sure that you get the debris before it goes down the storm sewers so that you can maintain them in a much more, orderly fashion than we've done in the past. So, street sweeping is going to be essential to this community moving forward. Did I get a motion to approve on this item?
So moved.
Okay, great. So I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please.
Alan.
Oh, I'm sorry, Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, last year I brought up the idea and wondering about people cutting their grass, companies going out cutting grass, and then they take all the trimmings and they throw the trimmings with a blower out in the street, which goes down into our sewer system, which is not good for us all anyway. Also, we've been talking about that over the years. We're going to look at that to try to find a way to get those individuals to start trying to pick up the trimmings instead of putting them in the road? Or so we just gonna let it go?
And not.
No, I think that additional legislation is needed, Commissioner Allen, to basically to define that as littering. I mean, whether it's vegetative or whatever else, you blow trash out in the street that way, and then it goes down the storm drain. So no, I think we're gonna have to try to consider some additional legislation.
Isn't that already there?
No, you see it happen all over the town with these mowers.
Right, and it's going to be more education, I think, than enforcement, to be perfectly honest, and let people know that it's going straight to the river after it gets through blocking up the storm drain.
Yes, Commissioner Wynn.
Because this may be a question because I don't really understand how the street sweeper works. I've seen them, not often, obviously, but does it just sweep it into the street or does it sweep it into the gutter? Or what happens to the debris? There's places.
It has a truck that follow behind it that it loads into.
Okay, because there was just all kinds of garbage in the gutter, and if you're just sweeping it around, it's not doing any good.
So,
Mr. Chairman, I know there have been a lot of instances where I've seen people with blowers. When they cut somebody's grass or something, they intentionally blow it in the sewers. But we do need some consideration to a rule. I mean, education, I agree, Mr. Mayor, but sometimes people have to punish too, and we need a rule so that there's a fine for doing that.
It's in the books. Some of the books.
Hey, if I may.
Sure.
So when it comes to, that's one of the things, even when it comes to, I believe when the county is maintaining the right of ways. And like I say, I've been noticing a lot more because they have been in the areas trying to get stuff done. And I'm noticing, it seems like that's the county way. I don't know if we're blowing that stuff up or vacuuming it. Sweeping it up. It seems like as we're cutting the right of ways with the bush hog, we're doing the exact thing as the county. And And ideally, I would love if our service delivery was, we cut the grass, we, weed eat or edge the sidewalk, and then we blow up and collect everything in the bag. Or we have a lawnmower that, actually sucks it up rather than leave all that debris, particularly since we're cutting stuff that was more than a foot high. Like, that stuff is really clumped up. Like, it was one picture that was in Mallory's committee that it got my attention to it earlier. That's the county doing that, not an individual citizen. But yeah, so.
Okay. Somebody remind me, did I get a motion and a second on this item, item G? If not, can I have a motion?
I think you did.
Yeah, you had a motion by Lucas, second by Watkins.
Okay, okay, great. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great. We're getting in the home stretch here. 3 more items. Item H is a resolution approving and adopting the 5-year short-term work program and capital improvements element update. Who's gonna speak to that?
Approval.
Okay, I got a motion to approve, and I got a second. Anybody want to speak to this?
I'm in favor. I call for the question.
Okay. Okay, great. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great.
It's
Item
no
I.
report. It's either 2 minutes or it's 30. Like,
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Okay, item I is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a professional services contract with Athletica Sports Systems, Inc. in the amount of $556,900 for Macon Coliseum ice dasher system to be paid from the 2018 SPLOST funds, cultural and public. It's Coliseum line item. Okay. I'm a big hockey fan, so I'm over there all the time. What's an ice dasher system? I'm not exactly sure what that is.
I don't see David on the call. I'll have to get the particulars of the item, but it is. Oh, hold on a second.
Hi, it's the plastic that goes around the edge so that you don't get hit by a hockey puck.
Oh, okay. The glass is what they call that. Yeah. Okay. All right. So it's the glass around the hockey rink. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second, I need.
I'll second it.
Okay, great.
I have a question.
Okay.
Does
Now's
the
the time to ask
hockey
that.
team, does the hockey team help us at all? Do they incur any of that, the expense? Because there's only one team, one group that's using it. Or do we just provide that as part of our incentive package to have these teams in place?
My impression is, Commissioner Lucas, that they rent the Coliseum, and the maintenance of the ice floor and the boards and dashers is our responsibility, but we take that into consideration when we set the rent.
What do they pay in rent?
Ooh, I knew you were gonna ask that next. Julie, if you're still close by, can you tell us how much they pay in rent?
I don't. I'd actually have to look through some documents to know what it is they pay for rent, but I will say this is SPLOST funded and what Spectra determined as the priority projects that needed to be completed in order to keep up a variety of different activities that are coming to the Centroplex, including, the next thing up the line is a new scoreboard, et cetera, et cetera. So they feel like it's gain that contract.
Okay, I can see a scoreboard, not because everybody, a lot of use with that. But I think at some point we've got to look at how much we're spending and determine if if what we're getting back. I know there's some things that are just for the entertainment factor and quality of life in the community. But 500 something thousand for this. The Zamboni costs what, 200,000-300,000. And the ice making stuff on the floor. I mean, these are some really big, expensive items. And so we need to kind of evaluate and see if it's coming out in our favor.
Yeah, and I'll be glad to try to get somebody from finance to get us that information about the rent that they pay and the expenses that we incur. I think we do use it also for public ice skating, which I understand is fairly popular.
Very well, yeah.
But I don't know that they need the dashers and all. But here again, we'll get some additional information for you.
Well, listen.
Yeah, I can tell you that the glass was showing its age, and really sort of needed to be replaced for past few seasons. And it's a safety thing, as well, just to make sure people don't get hit by pucks.
Yeah.
So any further discussion?
Yeah, it's not negative, it's just a question.
Yeah.
About it.
Any further discussion on this?
Yes, sir. Just to make sure, we know it's a safety issue when those pucks are going, but it would be curious to see how this process bid out. If you're talking about $500,000 and I don't think it's glass that goes all the way around. That bench.
No, they just call it the glass. Yeah.
Right, and it's not, it's not a permanent fixture because it's only up during hockey games. So it's interesting how is it being utilized and moved outside of hockey games and something that's going to cost $500,000. I'm more so interested in municipalities around this country are down at City Hall conducting business, and I think I got a resolution for plexiglass, so it may be coming for us to because for us to try to get back down to work, because the entire administration is down there working. I mean, we don't have all of their safety precautions. Folks are at home still. We got a number of folks at home, and you got restaurants and businesses, grocery stores that put up plexiglass for the safety of this community. I know it's another subject, but these are things that we should be discussing and talking about. That some of these fundings or this SPLOST money that we still have and emergency funding can go toward, or does it go toward in the CARES Act? And just want to throw it out there because we just got to show the folks that we willing to work for them, and we got to put some safety measures in place ourselves at City Hall, regardless if there's a vaccine or not. We just still need those safety precautions.
Okay.
Mr. Vice
Yes.
Chairman, I've
Yes,
just
ma'am.
been provided with some information by Julie that says that the hockey team pays $3,000 per game to the Coliseum fund.
And there are about 28 games plus playoffs.
There you go.
Yeah, maybe not this year, but we'll see.
And by the way, we are working as a side note on these plexiglass petitions. Mayor Pro Tem, we've got a mock-up that we brought in and installed one. I don't know. Michael's trying to turn his page around to see if he can show it to you, Michael.
See it?
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a mock-up, but it didn't work very well, and it kind of leans. So they were going to order some stronger, heavier duty, thicker plexiglass to see if they can't make it work that way. So we're working on that.
It should be completed by this Friday, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Do we get concessions? Do we get concessions at the hockey games?
Mm-hmm.
Does the county get concessions?
I think we do, because
I think so too.
we run that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm just trying to make it work out on behalf of the taxpayers, because $500,000 on one item for a team, And then the Zamboni, y'all remember how much that one was? We just bought one, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Zamboni, I know it's at least, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I'm just trying to make it all fit so that I can justify continuing to support hockey. So anyway, thank you for the information.
Okay, I need a motion to approve.
No, you got it.
Oh, did I get it? Okay.
Yeah, you got Bivens was the motion. Lucas was your second.
Okay, great. All right, so any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, this is either going to be 2 minutes or 30 minutes, according to Commissioner Watkins. All right, our last item is a resolution to authorize the mayor to execute a contract between Macon-Bibb County and Warren Associates, Inc. in the amount of $509,500 for Phase 3 of the Freedom Park renovation to be paid by 2018 SPLOST bond proceeds.
Yes, sir. And Clay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead now.
Clay could not be here today, but he gave me the updated information. Of these funds, you get 2 new basketball courts, 1 new fishing dock, 1 new playground, an upgrade to the existing pavilion, and the addition of a new pavilion.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yep, that sounds good to me. All right, can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion on this?
Quickly, Dr. Moffitt, a while back, I sent you some information where people had cut a hole in the fence over there because they were not able to walk through the fence, and that we needed to put a opening up. It was as if we were trying to keep a certain segment of the community out. Do you have a follow-up to that, and to make sure that we can put a enclosure or a opener in that fence over there where all sides of the community can feel like they're welcome, sir? Or do you recall that, or do I need to resend that to you?
No, you don't need to resend it. I recall, but I do not know what the solution was. So let me verify what we did there, but I will have that and update you by the end of the day.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Michael.
Sorry for not catching this sooner, but we don't have any SPLOST bond proceeds left. It's just our SPLOST revenues. And so I'm just going to do an amendment for next week that changes that just to specify that it's not coming out of a bond fund that we've already exhausted. It's just coming out of our income that's coming in for SPLOST now.
Okay, do we need to amend that
No.
here to? No.
I'll have it for pre-commission next week.
Okay, great.
Mr. Mayor,
All right.
can you also, Mr. Mayor, have an update where we at as far as projections with the SPLOST to show shortfalls, et cetera? How we doing during COVID?
I think we can have that for you. We'll see if Clay can't tell us. My impression from what he has told me in the not too distant past is that we have had revenues in excess of projections these last several years. So we're actually ahead of his projection for revenue coming in. But I don't know from this point forward whether we'll have payback, and end up getting less because of this current situation or not. But we'll do the best we can to give you an update of where we are right now.
And the state money that they were shorting us, Commissioner Watkins, I saw that he wanted to file an appeal. What is that process? And maybe the attorneys can answer that. Is there an appeals process for us to reach out to the state and say that we disagree with the amount of money that they're going to be sending us from state revenues that they're saying that we have a shortfall on? Because a lot of times in most municipalities, we're just accepting these fees. They're getting money from the CARES Act, and so, but we're getting a shortfall. If you want to enlighten the entire commission on that.
No, well, I think Julie can give you some update, and Christy can give you some update. They got an explanation from the state about the audit that they did and why they deducted a certain amount of money from last month.
Mhm.
And we'll get that information and see what you want to do with it.
Okay, great.
Appreciate the follow up. I've been curious about that one too. I don't like that. I didn't like that at all. Take $500,000 from us.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, great. Is there any other business that needs to come before this committee?
Mr. Vice Chair, I wanted to
Yes,
ask
ma'am.
about one thing that I read about our pension, an amount of money that is going to be owed to our retirees. There was an incorrect formula that was used. Where are we on that, or are we anywhere on it?
Yeah, let me go to Duke and he can give you a little bit of an update on that.
Okay.
My suggestion is that because I know internally we've been looking at those calculations, and the administration is trying to come up with a presentation to y'all. My suggestion is we would do that in executive session, and whenever it can be scheduled.
Okay, I just know we need to go ahead and come up with what we need to do about it. If we're gonna give them their money, we need to go ahead and say we're gonna give it to them. Otherwise, we're gonna be inundated with, they're gonna be coming for their money. So we need to plan out, if we owe them, we need to plan out how we're gonna get it to them. So I appreciate getting the information as soon as y'all have it.
Okay, great. Any other business need to come before this committee? Hearing none, we are then adjourned. Mr. Mayor, I'll turn it back to you.
And that Operations and Finance was our final committee meeting. Nothing else to come before us, no points of personal privilege.
Doesn't Bears Den reopen today?
I do not know the answer to
Mallory?
Ooh, I don't know, but I'm ready to go. I was just going to go get a New Way hot dog myself.
that. We'll try to get an update. Maybe Mallory knows. But we'll get an update on that with no further business, no points of personal privilege.
Yeah.
Can I get a motion to? Yes, yes, sir. Commissioner Bivens.
I had made an effort to get a discussion, and I hope everybody received a letter from that a lady wrote to me about problems she was having with an empty house and garbage, and something about the garbage collection fee. I was hoping we could have put it on for discussion. Can we do that pre-commission next week? Maybe have a discussion, because I was hoping to happen this week.
First, I thought we were doing it in this committee, but then I thought it moved to somebody. I got an email. I thought it moved to the committee of the whole or someplace else. My bad.
Well, I don't know. I just I don't want to wait too long, because I'd like to tell the lady something, and I hope everybody read the letter to see what it's about, and then we just have a discussion and see if it stays the same or if there's some adjustment that can be made.
Yeah, we'll do.
She's a senior, and
we'll certainly do that, and maybe we can put that in Operations and Finance as a discussion item next week.
Yeah, I
2 weeks.
Okay.
I guess I got a little confused on the emails, but yeah, I saw it. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
All right. Nothing further. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Got a motion without objection.
Without objection.
We are adjourned. Thank you.